The year is 2002. Gujarat, a state in western India, erupts in flames. Mobs roam the streets fueled by hatred and vengeance. The victims, mostly Muslims. The backdrop? The burning of a train carriage, allegedly by Muslim extremists, which claimed the lives of Hindu pilgrims. This tragedy became the catalyst for an unimaginable wave of violence. Over 1,000 lives were lost, countless others scarred forever. At the helm of the state government stood Narendra Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat. Accusations of complicity and inaction dogged him, casting a long shadow over his leadership. Though cleared by subsequent investigations, the stain of Gujarat 2002 remains etched in India's collective memory. The riots, a horrific manifestation of religious intolerance, served as a chilling portent of the divisive politics that would come to define Modi's rise. The Gujarat riots were not merely a tragic episode, they were a turning point. They exposed the deep-seated religious fault lines that ran through Indian society, and they catapulted Narendra Modi onto the national stage, not as a unifier, but as a figure who polarized public opinion. His supporters saw him as a strong leader, unafraid to take on what they perceived as Muslim appeasement. His detractors saw him as a divisive figure, exploiting religious sentiments for political gain. The years following the Gujarat riots saw Modi consolidate his power within the Bharatiya Janata Party, a Hindu nationalist party. He skillfully harnessed the narrative of Hindu victimhood, presenting himself as a protector of the majority community. His rhetoric grew increasingly strident, tapping into a vein of Hindu anxiety and resentment that had been simmering for decades. Modi's political strategy was shrewd and multifaceted. He combined a carefully cultivated image of a strong leader with a development-oriented agenda. He promised economic growth, jobs, and a resurgent India that would reclaim its rightful place on the world stage. This message resonated with a wide cross-section of the population, particularly the aspirational middle class. The 2014 general elections marked a watershed moment in Indian politics. Modi's BJP swept to power with an unprecedented majority, ending decades of Congress Party dominance. His victory was seen by many as a mandate for his brand of Hindu nationalism. The Modi wave, as it came to be known, had swept across India, carrying with it the promise of a new era. But for India's minorities, particularly Muslims, the future seemed fraught with uncertainty and fear. The rise of Narendra Modi, the man who had once presided over the Gujarat carnage, had sent shockwaves through their communities. The years following Modi's ascent to the office of Prime Minister have witnessed a disturbing surge in hate crimes against Muslims. Lynchings, once a rarity, have become alarmingly commonplace. Mosques have been vandalized, Muslim businesses targeted, and ordinary citizens subjected to violence and intimidation. The perpetrators, often self-proclaimed guardians of Hindu culture and tradition, operate with impunity, emboldened by the tacit approval of those in power. The normalization of Islamophobia is perhaps the most insidious consequence of Modi's reign. Muslims are routinely demonized in public discourse, portrayed as a threat to the Hindu way of life. Their patriotism is questioned, their loyalty to the nation suspect. This climate of fear and suspicion has created a chilling effect on free speech and dissent. The state, instead of upholding the rule of law and protecting its citizens, has become complicit in this climate of impunity. Laws and policies have been enacted that discriminate against Muslims, further marginalizing them within their own country. The Citizenship Amendment Act, for instance, offers a fast track to citizenship for non-Muslim refugees from neighboring countries, effectively making religion a criterion for citizenship. This discriminatory law sparked nationwide protests, met with brutal repression by the state. The demolition of the Babri Masjid in 1992 stands as a stark symbol of the rising tide of Hindu nationalism in India. The 16th-century mosque, located in the city of Ayodhya, was reduced to rubble by a mob of Hindu extremists who believed it stood on the birthplace of Lord Ram, a revered Hindu deity. The event triggered widespread riots across the country, leaving thousands dead and deepening the chasm between Hindus and Muslims. In 2020, the Supreme Court of India, in a controversial verdict, ruled in favor of building a Ram temple on the disputed site. The mosque, a symbol of India's syncretic culture and shared heritage, was erased, replaced by a monument to majoritarian triumphalism. This act of historical revisionism sent a chilling message to India's minorities. Your history, your places of worship, your very existence are subject to the whims of the majority. The vandalism of Aurangzeb's tomb in 2022 is another example of this disturbing trend. Aurangzeb, the last of the great Mughal emperors, is a controversial figure in Indian history, often vilified by Hindu nationalists for his alleged intolerance towards Hindus. The desecration of his tomb, a protected monument, is a testament to the growing audacity of these extremist elements. It is also a reminder that no symbol of Muslim history is safe from their wrath. Section 5. The Spectre of Erasure Rewriting History, Obliterating Identities. The BJP's project of Hindu nationalism goes beyond physical violence and hate speech. It seeks to reshape the very idea of India, erasing its pluralistic past and imposing a monolithic Hindu identity. Textbooks are being rewritten, history is being revised, and cultural institutions are being co-opted to promote a sanitized version of the past that glorifies ancient Hindu kings and minimizes the contributions of Muslims and other minority communities. This project of erasure is not merely an academic exercise. It is about delegitimizing the presence of Muslims in India, portraying them as invaders and foreigners in their own land. It is about denying them their rightful place in the national narrative and creating a hierarchy of citizenship where Hindus are first among equals. This rewriting of history is not limited to the distant past. The BJP and its ideological affiliates have also sought to whitewash the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, who advocated for Hindu-Muslim unity and paid the ultimate price for his beliefs when he was assassinated by a Hindu nationalist in 1948. Gandhi's message of peace and non-violence is anathema to the BJP's vision of a Hindu Rashtra, a Hindu nation. Section 6. A Nation Divided, Fault Lines of Faith and the Erosion of Secularism. The rise of Hindu nationalism under Narendra Modi has had a profound impact on India's social fabric. The country is more polarized than ever before, with religious fault lines becoming increasingly entrenched. The secular ideals enshrined in the Indian Constitution, which guarantee equal rights and protection to all citizens regardless of their faith, are under threat. The BJP's vision of India as a Hindu nation where minorities are at best tolerated and at worst persecuted is antithetical to the idea of India as a secular, pluralistic democracy. This vision has emboldened Hindu extremists, who feel empowered to act with impunity, knowing they have the tacit support of those in power. The erosion of secularism has far-reaching consequences. It undermines the very foundations of Indian democracy, which is predicated on the principle of equality for all. It creates a climate of fear and insecurity, particularly for minorities who feel increasingly vulnerable and marginalized. And it damages India's international reputation as a tolerant and inclusive society. Section 7. Voices of Dissent, Resistance and Resilience in the Face of Oppression. Despite the challenges they face, India's minority communities, particularly Muslims, have not remained silent in the face of oppression. They have raised their voices against injustice, demanding equal rights and protection under the law. Student activists, human rights defenders, journalists, and ordinary citizens have shown immense courage and resilience in challenging the Hindu nationalist agenda. The anti-CAA protests that swept across India in 2019 and 2020 were a powerful testament to the spirit of resistance. Millions of Indians from all walks of life and religious backgrounds took to the streets to express their opposition to the discriminatory law. The protests were met with brutal repression by the state, but they succeeded in galvanizing public opinion and exposing the true face of Modi's India. The fight for justice and equality in India is far from over. It is a fight that requires sustained effort, unwavering commitment, and solidarity from people of conscience within India and around the world. The international community must hold the Indian government accountable for its human rights record and exert pressure to ensure the protection of minority rights. Section 8. The Unfolding Narrative, India's Democracy at a Crossroads. India today stands at a crossroads. The path it chooses will have profound implications not only for its own citizens, but for the world. Will it remain a secular, pluralistic democracy as envisioned by its founding fathers? Or will it succumb to the forces of Hindu nationalism and become a country where minorities are relegated to second-class citizenship? The stakes could not be higher. India's future as a democracy hangs in the balance. The outcome of this struggle will depend on the choices made by its leaders, the actions of its citizens, and the response of the international community. The world is watching. The international community must not remain silent as the ideals of democracy, secularism, and human rights are trampled upon in India. It is time to stand in solidarity with those who are fighting for a more just and equitable India. Section 9, A Call to Action, Global Solidarity for Human Rights and Justice. The situation in India is a stark reminder that the fight for human rights is a global struggle. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We cannot afford to remain silent when the rights of any community are violated, regardless of where it occurs. It is time for the international community to take concrete action to address the human rights crisis unfolding in India. Governments must use their diplomatic channels to express their concerns about the deteriorating human rights situation and urge the Indian government to uphold its international obligations. We must amplify the voices of those who are resisting oppression in India. We must support human rights defenders, journalists, and activists who are working tirelessly to hold the powerful accountable. And we must educate ourselves and others about the situation in India, challenging misinformation and prejudice wherever we encounter it. The fight for a more just and equitable world requires a collective effort. Let us stand together in solidarity with the people of India, and with all those who are fighting for their rights and freedoms.